How are you so wise? How are you so mature? How do you just know what to say, when to say it? How can you emotionally regulate yourself when you're going through the hardest times of your life? How did you get out of this distressing life? I became that way because I decided. In a moment of distress, I decided that I wanted better instead of worse. And you can do the same. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia Gogan if you are new, and if you are new, don't forget to subscribe because it's a good time over here. So, I didn't plan on filming this intro again until I just put in my memory card and I tried to edit this video and realized that when I filmed the intro, I didn't actually press record. So I need to tell you the intro again, and then I'm gonna bring it into the actual clips of the video and we'll go from there. Okay, if you want to heal, you're going to have to do it yourself. Now I wanna give you a disclaimer here. I don't mean that if you need to go on a healing journey or self-improve that you have to be alone, that you have to be in isolation, that you can't go get help, and that you shouldn't go to therapy, any of that. But this is what I mean when I say you need to do it yourself if you want to heal. I have been a super disciplined kid, mainly because I grew up with a father who was very, very, very strict on me. So it was definitely ingrained in me from a very young age to do the right thing and get my things done. But once my dad passed away when I was 16, something clicked within me. I was faced with the reality. I was faced with the reality of a parent no longer being there. And I had two choices. I could either let this situation break me and keep me down, or I can let this situation help me grow and prosper. And without even realizing, I chose to grow and prosper. Now, this is also not to say that if you've ever been through something that's really hard, like somebody passing away or a breakup or something unwanted in your life, that if that breaks you, then you are making the wrong decision or you shouldn't have let that happen. It's not about that, because there's definitely times where something has happened in my life and it's broken me for a little bit and then I get back up. But the key here is getting back up. And when I got back up from his passing, it was in the form of self-improvement. It was in the form of healing. It was in the form of exploring and wondering and becoming curious about life. I started to realize around that age that there are things in my reality that I wasn't happy with. I didn't have a good relationship with him. And a lot of my traumas actually come from our relational dynamic. But I realized around that time that there were things I was unhappy with, mainly my body, my self-image, how I looked at the world, how I showed up in the world, my life circumstance. There was a lot of things in my life that I realized that I did not like. And what I did in that moment was I became resourceful. Now, I remember when I was in school, this teacher, I don't know what we were doing or watching in class, but she played a TED Talk. And that was the first time I ever watched any type of motivational speaker on the internet, like any form of anything. But I was so intrigued by what this person was saying. I don't remember what it was, but I was just so intrigued. And I remember going home and I wasn't searching for it, but I just remember going on my little tiny iPhone, because it was like back in the day, and I went on YouTube and I found more of those TED Talks. And I remember watching one after the other, and it was opening my mind, and I couldn't believe all the things that I was learning, and none of the stuff I was learning in school. And from there started my self-development era. Now, there's other things in my life that influenced why I went in this direction, but again, it was one thing that led to another, that led to another, and led to another. And this has been my life story since, honestly, since I was 16. Now, I've also had to deal with a mother who had a lot of different hardships, a lot of different addictions in her life, and it's of course affected me. That actually became such a huge part of my healing journey as well. And so that propelled me forward, and it propelled me to take responsibility of my life because nobody was doing it for me. And on this journey, I have learned so much about the mind, so much about the body, so much about myself, so much about other people. I am constantly learning. I am constantly curious. I am a lifelong learner. If I could seriously just sit in my apartment and watch documentaries and watch lectures and watch 300,000 hours of like straight podcast episodes of like really intellectual people, I would do that. Read books all day, just learn, I would. Now, part of it can easily be interpreted as an isolation escape mechanism. I'm very aware of that, but I digress. But throughout my life, I always took this stance and this approach of I can heal myself, I can find a way, I can outsource, I can find an answer, I can help myself. Every breakup that I went through, every time that I would go out and do something even though I didn't really want to and I wasn't being true to who I was and I didn't know how to be authentic and I didn't know how to set boundaries and all of these things, the next day I would go watch a YouTube video or I would go listen to a podcast or I would go get another book and I would learn something new about myself and I would be able to apply it and I would show up differently in life and I would be able to get through the hardest times in my life. And I get asked every single day, how are you like this? How do you have this mindset? How do you have this wisdom? Like, how can you emotionally regulate? How are you so mature? How are you so wise? Da, 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 da. It's because I am a lifelong learner. It's because I've decided that I get to choose if I am going to heal or not. If I am going to stay in a place of brokenness, a place of victim mentality, a place of not being able to change. Anytime something comes into my life, I transform. Now, does that mean that I don't react, cry, feel sad, get down and out for a little bit? No, 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 it's not about that. It's the overall picture of how I react to certain situations in life. I always let it propel me forward. And with that said, I want to give you guys a video of different books and podcasts and YouTubers and just resources that I feel have really helped me be able to understand life, be able to heal, be able to self-improve. Things that are truly going to bring you up a level in your life. Without further ado, we're gonna go back a little bit in time during the day when I filmed this today. I hope that some of these resources can help you. Okay, I think the setup is okay. I am gonna be doing my makeup and getting ready, but let's not worry about that. Let's talk about some of the resources that I think are so important for someone on a healing journey, someone on a self-improvement journey that's truly helped me. And honestly, Christmas is coming up, so I feel like this is the perfect time for you to open up your Amazon cart or potentially put some money away to buy some of these things. Some of these are gonna be free, by the way, as well. Yeah, let's just get into it. If I'm not looking at the camera, I'm sorry, gotta do my makeup at the same time. So the first thing that has been really detrimental to my healing journey, of course, actually has been therapy. Now, I've gone to talk therapy and I am currently with a somatic therapist. Now, if you want to know more about somatic therapy, then go to my podcast because I actually did interview my somatic therapist. It's basically an advanced version of therapy, if I'm being honest. You're healing your nervous system. You are addressing the body somatically instead of just in the mind, where sometimes we can ruminate and just think and replay a bunch of stories that can be helpful if you're not self-aware and you don't know a lot about your past and your traumas, childhood, things like that. But sometimes it gets to the point where you need to address trauma within the body as well. Now, I live in Toronto, so I don't think a lot of you guys will be able to access my somatic therapist or similar ones around the area, but of course you can look for them around your own area. Also, I know BetterHelp is a online service that you can look into where you can find a certain therapist for your needs. But honestly, going to a therapist helps because you tend to go to people around you that are going to tell you what you want to hear, or they give you certain advice based off of their own biases. Now, it's not that bad if you do that, but you have to know that you have your own bias when you're actually trying to seek advice from other people. So if you want to be told a certain thing about yourself and your self-concept, you're gonna go to certain people that are gonna reinforce that certain belief within you. Now, that could be a good thing, for sure, but sometimes people might get you to think about a situation in a certain way that just ends up making you spiral anyways. And I think what's really important when you are trying to self-improve and trying to heal is you want to have people around you that are helping you support yourself to be guided back to who you truly are. You are a very unique individual. You have certain likes and dislikes. You have a certain purpose in this life. You have a certain path, and sometimes we get confused and we look outside of ourselves and we start to listen to outside sources to the point where they are now dictating our lives without even realizing it. And I try and do the best that I can, even in my own content, to help guide you guys back to yourself, make your own decisions, do what feels right for you. Now, again, this advice is still going to be flawed because I still have certain beliefs and concepts and things like that, but I try and do my best with that. Okay, so when I first got into listening to podcasts, I think it was in like 2017, 2016 maybe, I don't really remember. But I think the first podcast that I actually used to listen to was the Ultimate Health Podcast, The Skinny Confidential, and Lewis Howes podcast. I forget what it's called. Actually, I have a few of his books. The School of Greatness. It's called The School of Greatness. So those were 3 podcasts that really helped me learn a lot about a lot of different subjects. So mental health and health and wellness and things I just was not getting taught in school. Now, I don't really listen to those podcasts anymore because they're heavily into like self-improvement, which is not a bad thing, but I also don't really listen to them anymore. But I think especially The Skinny Confidential for men and women, not all the episodes are going to resonate with you because they talk a lot about beauty and health and skincare and wellness and stuff like that, but they also talk a lot about different ways of thinking in terms of becoming successful and being resilient and getting shit done, honestly. But some of the really good, informative, amazing podcasts that I'm currently listening to, which probably will resonate with you guys because of the content that I talk about, is number 1, the Feminine Frequency Podcast. This is probably definitely more geared towards the women that watch my channel because it really talks about healing feminine energy. If you are somebody who has been operating under your masculine energy as a woman and you've been independent and strong and you've been overworking and people pleasing and realizing that you need to drop more into your feminine energy but you have not been able to and you don't really know how, that whole podcast is so amazing to understand more of how to really heal your feminine energy. Another really good podcast to understand your dark feminine energy, which again, men, if you are watching this right now, this is definitely still a good podcast for you to listen to because she interviews a lot of different men as well and they talk about masculine energy as well. And it's called The Elevated Muse by Alicia Simone, and I've actually been on her podcast, so I can link that down below. By the way, everything that I'm talking about will be linked. I totally forgot to say, so don't worry about like writing things down. It will be in the description. She talks a lot about being able to express your sensuality, especially as a woman, and not feeling like you're bad or wrong or gross or anything that society wants to tell you about being a woman and being sensual and having a part of you that is seductive and beautiful. And she talks a lot about sex, and I think that's really important, even self-pleasure. So I think if we're talking about becoming women, I think that's a crucial part of our journeys that we need to learn about if we have not. I feel like society has not done a good job with really teaching us how to embrace our sensuality as women. So that's a great podcast to listen to. Another really good podcast is called The Cure for Chronic Pain. This helps you understand the mind-body connection. It helps you understand that when you suppress emotions, when you have gone through a lot of traumas in your life, when you do not know how to release these emotions, they will show up physically in your body as pain, as ailments, as depression, anxiety, all of these things. And she brings on a lot of people on the podcast for you to understand and hear their stories about how they had back pain and how that was related to anger that they've been holding and resentment that they've been holding within them. And I know that to be true because I used to have nerve pain in my hands for 2 years. I literally thought my life was over. And it was really the result of my mind-body connection and how my nervous system was in such a fight or flight state based off of how I was raised, how I looked at life, how stressed I was mentally, the way that I was perceiving everything, the way that I was suppressing emotions and not working through them from childhood. And it's truly profound. So if you deal with any chronic illness, if you deal with depression or anxiety or physical symptoms that will not go away, that don't make sense, where you've been to the doctors, they keep telling you that you're fine, but you're not feeling fine, go listen to that podcast. She talks a lot about healing your inner child, the process of releasing emotions and emotionally regulating yourself. It's an amazing podcast. Another amazing podcast is called Expanded by To Be Magnetic, and that podcast talks about manifestation from a very scientific background. They talk a lot about subconscious beliefs. They talk a lot about how to reprogram things that were imprinted in you from childhood, how to really transform your beliefs so that you can transform your reality. This is not woo-woo science. Manifestation is absolutely real. It's been flooded on the internet with a lot of different techniques and very basic understanding of what manifestation is, which then doesn't work for most people because they do not understand how manifestation works. So I think that is the best manifestation podcast that I've ever listened to, because they're backed by science, they're backed by psychology, they know what they're talking about. And if you are somebody who's very analytical and very logical and you can't really play into the manifestation thing, but you do understand, like you see it and you know it's real, that's the podcast for you. Another really good podcast is called The Highest Self Podcast, and that's by Sahara Rose. She really talks about Dharma, and basically that is just your purpose in life, finding your purpose. She talks a lot about different stages of enlightenment, and it's very more so on the spirituality side, but I think it's a really beautiful podcast if you feel like you're in a stage of life right now where you're trying to figure things out, you're trying to find your purpose, you are trying to get in alignment with what you want to do and what you enjoy in life. I think that's a great podcast to listen to. The last podcast that I'm going to mention is my podcast, because I think it's honestly such a good mix of some of the podcasts that I have talked about, but of course all the things that I said that I have learned into one. It's coming from a unique perspective. I talk about healing your inner child. I talk about setting boundaries. I talk about becoming the best version of yourself, spiritual awakenings. I talk about everything that I have personally been through and the advice and opinions that I have and hold about things, especially what you guys are going through, because you ask me all the time and we do a lot of Q&A and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I had to do my eyeliner off camera because I cannot talk and do it at the same time. And I put on a sweater because I am cold. But I digress. Let's get into my favorite YouTubers that I feel like has truly helped me on my healing journey and who I think are really actually quite useful to be watching. The first person is Teal Swan. Now, Teal Swan gets a bad rap because she addresses and talks to people who are going through some of the darkest times of their lives, and it's definitely sensitive subjects. I learned a lot about how we have fragmentation within us and our consciousness splits, and we create different identities to protect ourselves in life when we are showing up to work, showing up in relationships, showing up certain ways in life. And this consciousness split, this identity split happens in childhood when we are trying to learn and grow and evolve. Unfortunately, what also happens is trauma creates a identity split within us, and we act and we pick up certain beliefs based off of a certain trauma that has happened to us in life, whether it's small or big. She's also taught me a lot about the law of mirroring and how we have certain subconscious beliefs that reside within us, and we are basically becoming a match to people based off of certain subconscious beliefs, not just conscious beliefs, which makes sense as to why a lot of manifestation techniques do not work, because we are trying to manifest from a conscious belief pattern for us to say, yes, I'm going to start believing that I can make more money every single year, that I am worthy of love, that I am worthy of attention and affection, da da da, but it doesn't happen because we have these subconscious beliefs that have been imprinted in us from childhood. Now, like I mentioned, there are different schools of thought of this, and in the podcast To Be Magnetic talks about the same thing, and you're gonna hear other people that I mentioned talk about the same thing. But yeah, I just think that she is amazing. She talks also a lot about feminine energy, masculine energy. She talks about a lot of different world issues. She's spiritual. She really gets down to the root of our suffering as humans. Another person is Dylan James. He talks a lot about not focusing on negative circumstances, which is something that I feel like I have adopted, this mindset of not looking at everything as lack and negative, because I know what that brings in my life. And he really goes down to it in all of his videos. He teaches from a very logical limiting belief standpoint and tries to help you uncover limiting beliefs and how to not play into your stories, your negative focus, negative circumstances, things of that nature. I know he's learned a lot from Neville Goddard, which talks a lot about self-concept and manifestation and stuff like that. So he is a great resource if you want to go check out his channel. I love him. He's amazing. Okay, Adrienne Everhart. She's amazing. She actually commented on one of my YouTube shorts one day and I literally died. But she talks to a lot of women about relationships. So if you are a woman who centers men around your life, and maybe for good reason, you're a good woman and you want love and you want attention and you want to be there for your man and this, that, but you don't really understand how men operate. This is a woman who understands how men operate. She knows how to be in a relationship. She knows how to be in a marriage. She knows what a man needs, what they don't, how to act, how to be. And now listen, I'm not saying that you need to morph yourself just to get a man to want you and to be in a relationship with you. But if you're in relationships, you do need to understand how men operate and how you are operating out of a very lackluster, very desperate energy sometimes. And she gets down to it. If you're going through a breakup, she has so much advice for that. If you are dealing with a man who's pulling away, she has so much advice for that. If you're in a healthy relationship and you want to strengthen your bond and you want to really drop into more of your feminine energy and allow him to provide and protect you, she is amazing for that. Another woman that I used to listen to a lot in like probably 2018, I think, is, I literally don't know why I don't know how to say her name, and I should just know it. Her name is Brenny Lee. Or Brenny Lee. This is rude. At this point, this is rude because I don't know how to say her name, but whatever. You guys probably know who I'm talking about. She was one of the OGs that really got me into that like woman mindset. When I was in my early 20s. I love her. She still has really good content. She talks a lot about relationships, and I think she's in the era of getting herself ready for marriage. And honestly, I think you would love her if you are trying to become the best version of yourself and you're trying to become a good woman and you want to be a wife and you want to have good, healthy relationships, especially with men, and you want better for yourself. Definitely go watch her. Another good woman to watch is The Universe Guru. She talks a lot about dating high value men and getting a provider man slash protector man. And she talks a lot about feminine energy. She talks about a lot about relationships, but she also talks a lot about like self-improvement as well. Like how to even set yourself up for the life that you really want. Whether that be material things in your life that you want, or like financial, money, career, anything. She has a very Eastern perspective when it comes to dating, which I think can be very, very helpful. And she just has a lot of traditional values, I would say. So definitely go watch her. She's amazing. She does a lot of lives as well, which I kind of want to start doing lives on YouTube, but I don't know. Let me know if you guys would be interested in that. By the way, if you want to know what I'm doing with my eyelashes, I've been doing this since I was young. I take my tweezers, I kind of like lump together just a little bit my eyelashes so everything looks very put together and not weird. I don't know, this is just something that I've been doing forever, so just don't mind me if you're wondering what I am doing. Another good person that I've been watching recently is, I think her, what is it, Kidology, I think that is her YouTube name. Again, everything's gonna be linked down below. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing these wrong, but she talks a lot about different cultural issues. I don't really believe she has a very strong bias towards one political party or one way of thinking than the other. But I think she does really good analysis of what's going on in culture. I know she's talked about hookup culture right now. She talked about it for men and for women. She talks about the red pill community. She talks about toxic masculinity. She talks about different things that are going on in society. And I think that if you're somebody who can sit and watch like a 1 hour, 2 hour analysis of something very deep, then she is definitely a channel to be watching. But she does talk about very complex issues in the world, so sometimes it can be a little bit hard to stay focused, but I love content like that. The last person, and it might be controversial, I know it might be controversial, but he has been a very big impact on my self-improvement journey, and it's Jordan Peterson. I think that he is a very intellectual, what do you mean very intellectual? He is the ultimate intellectual man. But I know that he has certain views and certain beliefs that might not resonate with everyone, but I think when I was in the worst period of my life, when I was dealing with my hand pain and I was trying to get out of it. I watched his lectures. He taught me a lot about psychology, about the mind, how to get up and work on yourself when everything around you is going wrong in your life. And his daughter is quite intellectual as well. Michaela Peterson, she has a podcast. Definitely go watch his stuff if you haven't. You don't need to agree with everything that he is saying or anyone that I have mentioned already in this video. But even his old lectures on his channel where he was teaching at the University of Toronto, I think it was the University of Toronto, he literally puts his free lectures online. And if you want to learn about psychology or anything, then do that. You literally go watch his free lectures. And this is gonna segue into some resources that I think are really helpful, is to go on YouTube and literally type in whatever subject you're wanting to learn about. Psychology 101, understanding subconscious beliefs, the subconscious mind, anything. You can find a lot of universities that are putting out their lectures online for free. I used to watch 3-hour lectures from Michigan State or Harvard University on YouTube for free about all these insane topics. I literally felt like I was going to university. It was insane. And this again goes back to being really resourceful. There are so many resources out there for you. Some are free, some aren't, that you can tap into if you decide to respond to a certain circumstance in your life a certain way. Like I said in the beginning of the video, instead of looking at it as it's going to break you down and you're gonna stay here forever, you can look at it like, how can I learn from this? What can I do to propel myself forward? And using some of these resources can really help you doing that. Okay, took off the towel, which by the way, you're gonna see these probably in a lot of my videos. It looks gross, but it's just water. I put these on my head every time I get out of the shower. These have been in my life near and dear to my heart for so long. I will link this in my Amazon shop if you want them, but these are just a lifesaver for my hair. But tonight I'm gonna be going out and I'm gonna do a slick back ponytail. I have a real human hair ponytail, which I will show you guys. But what I did in the shower really quickly, and I know this is off topic, but we'll get back into it, don't worry. I slicked back my hair a lot, made sure everything was brushed back, and I tied my hair up as small as I could in a little bun, and I'm gonna put my ponytail over top of this. But before I even do that, I need to actually make sure, like, if you look at my hair right now, it's just kind of like flyaways right now. So what I'm gonna do is use some Got2b glue and a little bit of Eco Styler gel and slick some stuff back, and we're gonna continue moving forward. Okay, we need to talk about books. Like, we can't not talk about books. Listen, you don't see it right now. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna show you. I have a very big bookshelf right here, okay? There's so many books, and I have lost many over the years. I have some on my side table. I have books that you guys are currently sitting on. I've lent books away. I have gotten audiobooks. I have gotten books from the library. I have read a lot of books. Some of the things stick with me, some of them don't. But when we're talking about a healing journey, there is a few key books that I truly believe that it will change the game for you. It will save you so much money and time trying to figure out what's wrong with you, trying to figure out how you can heal, why you act the way that you act. I am somebody that truly believes that you need to go to the root of all the things that are being caused in your current reality, which means going back in time, childhood, what the hell happened back then, so that you can heal and you can change your circumstance around you. Because it's really hard for you to go for what you want in your life, for you to hit your goals, for you to change whatever beliefs that you currently have about life when you don't even understand who you are or where you're operating out of. And the way you find that out is you do a little bit of digging. You go back to the past. You don't ruminate on the past, but you need to go back there. You need to be taught why it's important to. You need to understand what even happened. You need certain healing techniques and modalities to be able to help you get there and for you to move forward. So the first book that I think is so important for you to get is called No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz. Now this book addresses what I was talking about with Teal Swan, the identity split within you and how you have different parts of you that operate in certain ways and have different beliefs which get in your own way. This addresses subconscious beliefs, this addresses the inner child, and if you self-sabotage and you know you do it, but you continue to do it anyways, then you need this book. You need to understand that you are not just you. I am not just Alicia. I have different parts of me that have wounds, that are from childhood, that hold certain beliefs, that manifest all types of things in my life. And if you are looking around in your reality and you're like, why am I getting these types of relationships? Why do I keep getting this? I'm trying to think differently. Nothing is changing. Why do I keep getting in my own way? It's because you have different parts operating within you that have been created from a certain situation back in time. And in order for you to change all of this, you need to look inwards. And you need to also understand how these parts formed and also how to deal with them, how to talk to them, how to understand them, how to heal these parts of you. Because the problem is sometimes we learn about the fact that we have all these different parts that manifest all these things and bring all these people into our lives, and then we just get mad at our parts, and then we get resentful. And this is where self-hate starts to happen. This is why we feel so much resistance within us. This is why we hate parts of us. This is why we suppress our emotions, because we don't know how to deal with these things. We don't know how to deal with the parts of us that are feeling shame or embarrassment or feel hurt or abandoned. We just tell ourselves as adults, we say, just stop feeling like that, stop getting in my own way, just go away. But that's just not how things work, and you know that because if you have been self-sabotaging and you still do it, why do you keep doing it? Because you still have these parts within you. They're not going anywhere, so you might as well learn about them, learn how to be there for them. You might as well heal them. That is what self-love is. Many different psychologists, many different people in the self-development niche, like I just said with Teal Swan. There's a lot of people who talk about these concepts just in different ways. Carl Jung, all of these psychologists, they all talk about it in different ways. So it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, like which school of thought you're going to believe. That's just who I've learned from. So Richard Schwartz, No Bad Parts, get that book. It will change your life. Okay, another book that will be profound for your relationships is The Power of Attachment by Diane Poole. This book addresses attachment styles. So if you have not heard, you probably have. I'm assuming a lot of you probably have. You know that we have different attachment styles, and the way that you attach to people sometimes can be toxic or it can be really good. Most of us have really messed up attachment styles because we've learned how to have relationships based off of our parents, and majority of us have been raised in dysfunctional homes, unfortunately. It is the majority of us, not the minority, as much as sometimes we want to believe it's not. But that's not to try and get in your own way and make you feel bad about life. Like, it just is what it is. And if you can learn why you keep sabotaging relationships, why you keep pushing people away, why you keep getting so attached, why you feel so anxious, even when you're in a loving relationship and you still feel anxious when that person doesn't text you back, like all of these things, you need to understand your attachment style and how to really aid yourself and heal yourself and move yourself more into that secure attachment style as an adult. So that is an insane book. It truly is transformative. And yeah, that's really all I gotta say about that book. Okay, another book is called The Masculine in Relationships. Now, this is a great book for the men, if you guys are still watching, but also for women as well. If you are somebody who's into like feminine energy and you're learning that you want like a provider and a protector and you want to be more in your feminine energy and blah, 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 the relationships, dynamics, blah, 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 then you really need to understand what it means to be with a masculine man, not a toxic masculine man, by the way, because I feel like a lot of us, we have learned how to be with wounded, toxic, masculine men. And that has a lot to do with us operating out of our own wounded feminine energy, which, by the way, I do have a video which I will link up here. If you wanna be with a masculine man, then you need to understand like why it's important to even have one in your life. So if you want to understand masculine energy more, then you need to get that book. Sometimes I get in my own head and wonder why I come on the internet looking like this with my head situation, but then I'm like, you know what? I need to practice what I preach, and I don't have to be perfect all the time, okay? And again, we're gonna trust the process. Right now I have this headband on because I am making sure that my hair is really slicked back before I put my ponytail on. So I'm going to digress. I am running on low energy because Your girl is on her first day of her period, but we're gonna keep going and talking about these books because they're transformative and you need to know about them. Okay, the next book that you need to get, and I'm telling you, if no books, you need to get this one if you're a woman, and it's called Pussy, A Reclamation. Okay, I know, that title probably triggered you a little bit, and if it did, this is literally why you need to get this book. This book allows you to reclaim your girl down there that you have been neglecting, that you know nothing about, that you have had shame and embarrassment of. Your girl down there that does not get much attention from you, specifically just from you. Your girl down there that has so much wisdom and so much power that you are not tapping into. If you want to truly feel like a woman and own all parts of you, you need to understand that there is power in having a pussy. And not the power that the rappers like to rap about in their music videos or their songs. I'm talking about true, divine, beautiful, strong power that we have and that we hold. It talks a lot about the womb, healing. It talks a lot about the fact that we have been so disconnected when it comes to intimacy with men, how to even reclaim that, how to not feel so much shame and embarrassment, all of that kind of stuff. Please go get that book. Another really good book for women, once again, and I know guys, don't worry, there's gonna be some more books, is called In the Flow. And this is an amazing book if you wanna understand your menstrual cycle. This book gives you all of the tips on how to eat, how to move, how to be productive through each phase of your cycle. Now, I have made a video on this. I will link it up here, and I'm thinking about making a new updated video. So let me know if you want that in the comments about cycle syncing, how to be productive while you're going through certain phases of your menstrual cycle, and just how to use and understand your menstrual cycle to help you feel better, perform better, and just be the best version of you as a woman, because we do run off of a certain hormonal clock which affects the way that we think and how we show up and how we feel. Like today, like I just said, I'm on my first day of my period, and I woke up this morning and I was like, literally, I felt like I didn't sleep. And that was because my hormones are at its lowest. And knowing that, I let myself sleep in a little bit. And even today I wanted to do 2 videos, and I don't think that I can do it because I am so tired right now. Like I'm just so exhausted, and I still have to do a lot of things today. And I'm just going to let myself rest. And I'm letting myself rest because I know that my body needs it. And sometimes when we don't own the fact that we have a menstrual cycle, or we hate on it, what we'll do is, if we're trying to be productive, we get mad at ourselves because we're not being productive, or we'll feel like we're missing out on life. And now how I've reframed my mindset when it comes to my menstrual cycle, I'm not missing out on anything. My body needs a rest. Everything else I can do another video another day. Like, there's things that I can do that aren't necessary right now. Now, I know that can't be your circumstance for everything. I've had to work through many periods. There's still things that I have to do, but this book and just understanding your menstrual cycle also helps you be able to aid yourself to be able to actually do day-to-day functions and day-to-day things while you're on your period. Because the truth is, having a super heavy, bad, crampy, stressful period is not normal. It's actually very not normal. It's just the norm. So getting that book or any other similar book is really important for you to know and learn, and especially if you're on a self-improvement journey, because you need, as a woman, to do things in a way that makes sense for your anatomy in your body and how your hormones be fluctuating. We get taught from a lot of men when it comes to self-improvement, how to do things, how to take care of ourselves, how to eat, how to move, how to be productive. And all of that is great. That healthy masculine structure is amazing. And I'm gonna make a video about that, how to balance both, because we do need our masculine energy within us as feminine women, but we still need to look at it from a lens of being a woman. You are different. You're going to have to show up in different ways, and that's not to feel like you're less than a man because you can't do certain things on certain days like he can. It's not about that. And once you really tap into that, you'll actually realize, I'm just gonna leave it at that. You're just gonna realize that you are so powerful and amazing, and that book and Pussy, put those two together, you're becoming a woman. Another good book to get, and actually I'm gonna pair both of these together, and they're both by Teal Swan, The Anatomy of Loneliness and the Completion Process. The Anatomy of Loneliness, she really goes into why we feel so alone and so disconnected in a world where we're supposed to be the most connected. I feel like this could really help men as well. I'm not saying all men are just disconnected and women aren't, but I do feel like I'm getting that vibe. This goes back to the consciousness identity split within us, how we have different parts of us that operate and are feeling very isolated, and a lot of traumas that have affected the way that we feel. And if you are in a very lonely, isolated point in your life, that's a really good book to get. And the completion process is a process that she has created to be able for you to actually integrate parts of you that you suppressed, that you have denied, that you've hated on all of your life. Because the truth is, if you want to feel whole, if you want to feel authentic, if you want to be the best version of yourself in life, you need to have all parts of you on board. You need to have the parts of you that you have looked at and you've hated, that you've rejected, that you feel ashamed of, all your past behaviors, everything. If you are not in a place of self-love and self-acceptance, it's going to be really hard for you to be able to show up authentically and be able to connect deeply with people. And this process allows you to be able to reintegrate the parts of you that you've suppressed, the parts of you that you feel really shamed about. So she has a great process to do that, but again, you can learn about that stuff on her actual YouTube as well. Let me tell you, I've had this headband for about 800,000 years. You know those things that you have and you just keep from like high school, like weird, like a random sweater or a headband or something? That's that. So we're just, yeah, anyways. I just wanted to show you guys though my ponytail because I wear it all the time, and it's from this brand called Luxie Hair, and it was like $300. It was a lot, but I think it's like the most beautiful thing. I don't even know if you can really see it. Anyways, it's like a little bit ombre. It's amazing. I love a good ponytail, and I spent a lot of money on fake hair. I wear my natural hair a lot as well, but sometimes I want a certain vibe. Like tonight I'm going out, I'm going downtown Toronto, I'm going to my friend's birthday party, and we're going to this nice restaurant called Areta. I want a slick back, nice ponytail. I want to give off dark feminine energy, and I like to have my hair certain ways, and I don't really like to wear my natural hair out when I'm going to specific events because I'm trying to put off a certain vibe. I used to hate my natural hair. Like, I've talked about this in some of my videos. I used to hate it mainly because I never grew up around anyone who had curly hair like me, and I used to straighten it, and I ruined the crap out of my hair. And it took me a long time to regrow my hair, and I had to cut a lot of it and just like treatments all the time. And now my hair is beautiful. I have beautiful curly natural hair, but I still don't wear it out naturally all the time for many reasons. One, because it's a lot to deal with, but two, it makes me look different depending on how I have my hair. But I'm not wearing this because I hate my hair. I used to straighten my hair and wear extensions and wear wigs because I hated my hair. And I think this is something to think about. Again, I know we're off topic here, but we're just gonna talk about this for a second. There's something to be said about consciously choosing to do things without it having to do anything with you hating yourself. There are times where we work out, where we change our appearance, where we change a lot about ourselves because we hate ourselves. And I used to do that for years. And a lot of it did not work because then I ended up still hating myself. Now I'm at a point where I have worked on my body image issues, I have worked on my self-confidence, I have worked on how I view myself, and I actually love myself and I accept myself. But accepting yourself doesn't mean that you don't ever get to change, that you don't ever get to evolve, that you can't enhance your natural beauty, that you can't change up your hairstyle and give off a different vibe. And it's so much more fun when you get to indulge in beauty and hair and makeup and fashion and all of these things from a place of still being able to accept and love your natural self, but knowing that you can enhance and you can use your beauty and have fun with it at the same time. And I think that that's where a lot of women really struggle with that, because they are starting off changing how they look from a really, really low place. And that's not to say that you can't do it. And I know the effects of doing your makeup and looking presentable. Like it makes you feel different. But I think I don't know, I've been through it myself where I've truly not accepted and I hated every part of me, and I tried to change based off of that, and I still felt so insecure. And working on that now, I get to really love both sides of me. Love when my hair is natural, but love when my hair looks like this, which I'm gonna put in a second if I stop whipping it around. Yeah, I think it just gives me more of a balanced way of living where I'm not searching for a BBL, but I also know that I could probably go to the gym a little bit more and make my butt look a little bit better. You know what I mean? I don't know. We can have a whole video about that if you want. Let me know in the comments below. Okay, the next book that I think is really important for your healing journey, especially if you get anxious, especially if you, I don't know, if you're just like a stressed out individual, you need to get the book called Anchored. This book is a really good introductory to understanding the nervous system. If you're on a healing journey or self-improvement, you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna need to learn about the nervous system. You're gonna need to learn how to regulate your nervous system, which means regulating your emotions, which means being there, which means coming to the breath, which means bringing yourself back to present, which means learning how your body reacts to certain stressors in your life and being able to bring yourself back to a rest and digest state. This is very important when it comes to your health, because if you are in a constant state of fight or flight, then you are gonna start to have poor health issues, illnesses, chronic illnesses. So getting the book Anchored, it talks a lot about nervous system responses, how to regulate your nervous system, what it even is if you don't understand it at all. It has, I mean, the nervous system is really, it's more of that biological, physiological standpoint, so it's a little bit scientific, and you know, sometimes we don't maybe have that background and knowledge, but it's really important to understand the body as well when we're talking about healing, not just the mind. And that's why I go to somatic therapy, because you need to address the body, because your mind and your body is connected. Okay, another really good book, and I think this book is like, honestly, a book that addresses majority of the things that I've talked about in this video, and that's called How to Do the Work by Nicole LePera. I'm literally just going to read some of the main topics she talks about in this book. She talks about trauma, she talks about trauma in the body, she talks about mind-body healing practices, she talks about the inner child, the ego, trauma bonds, boundaries, reparenting, emotional maturity, interdependence. She talks about gut health in this one, I know that. What else? Beliefs, everything. She talks about it all. I was thinking like maybe we should do a book club, or maybe we do a live and we can like go through each chapter of a book, not reading it together, but like I can pull the important wisdom and the learnings, the teachings from a book, and we can talk about it. I don't know, that's just something I'm thinking about. We'll talk about that, but that book is really good if you're like a beginner and you just really want to understand trauma, healing, inner child, reparenting, all this kind of stuff. Okay, as you can see, my hair is in. This is literally my favorite thing ever. It feels so soft, so amazing. It's lasted so long, like it's real hair, it's expensive, and I love it. With that being said, there's a lot of resources that I have and that I have learned from and that I have pulled from, and I can definitely go into another video about this, but I want to hammer this home as per usual for you guys. If you want to heal, you're going to have to do it yourself. We're going to have to self-advocate. You are going to have to decide when a distressful thing poses in your life. You're going to have to decide whether you want to respond in a defeated, the universe is doing this to me mindset, or a resilient, the universe is always working in my favor mindset. Now, when we're talking about healing and self-improving, the things that you're going to be responding to are very hard. Like I said in the beginning of the video, responding to the fact that my father passed away is not an easy thing. Responding to the fact that my mother was going through her hardships was not an easy thing, and it was repetitive. I have gone through many things that made a lot of sense why I would feel like the universe is doing this to me, or God is doing this to me. And I want to reiterate the fact that I understand that if certain things happen in your life and it breaks you and it takes you a moment to get back up, that's okay. I'm not saying that you should be exactly like me and you should get up every single time and you should move forward. There's gonna be a lot of reasons why you respond to certain stressors the way that you do. But at the end of the day, there's going to come a point where you are going to have to decide that you are going to have to decide what is going on in your reality you no longer want, and that you want to move forward in life, which means it's time to become resourceful. It's time to pick up a book. It's time to listen to a podcast. It's time to go on YouTube, type in any interest that you have, and a million videos are gonna pop up, and all you have to do is click on one and put your phone away and watch it. People ask me all the time, how did you get like this? How do you know so many things? How do you give such good advice? How are you so wise? How are you so mature? How do you just know what to say, when to say it? How can you emotionally regulate yourself when you're going through the hardest times of your life? How did you get out of this distressing life? How did you create the life of your dreams? How did you become the woman of your dreams? I became that way because I decided. In a moment of distress, I decided that I wanted better instead of worse. And you can do the same. If you are still struggling right now with feeling like life is too hard for you to look at the positive side, to do better and be better and feel like life is actually easy, then you need to go watch the video that is on the screen right now. This video, I talked about how you are ultimately the one that is making life hard. Now, I know the title is a little bit triggering and it's triggered a few people, but I promise you, you will feel so much better if you watch that video. If you are truly struggling right now with looking at life as hard, you wake up every day and you're feeling like it's so hard to do everything. I know it can be hard, but it also can be easy if you decide that it gets to be easy. Please go watch that video and do not forget to subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment down below what you want to see next. Don't forget, I have a podcast, The Glow Up Secrets. I have Instagram, The Glow Up Secrets. I have journal guides. Everything is going to be linked in the description below. I love you and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.